Tired of your old kitchen or bathroom? Upgrade to the home of your dreams with Manny and Courtney from CMK Construction. CMK Construction is Tampa's award-winning kitchen and bath leader for over 20 years. Right now, save $3,000 on a new kitchen and $2,000 on a new bathroom. And take advantage of our no money down and no interest financing until 2026. Imagine, design, build.
Streaming from the ABC Action Weather Center in Studio A, this is Dennis Phillips Live Plus. Brought to you by CMK Construction, crafting Tampa's most exquisite bathrooms and kitchens.
How you doing, everybody? It is a Wednesday night edition of Dennis Phillips Live Plus. Here with Chad Mills. How you doing, Chad?
I'm great.
Chad is going to be talking tonight about something. So before this hurricane season started, I think the thing that I heard most of all about was people freaking out because of the budget cuts with NOAA, National Weather Service, and the data cuts with NOAA. And you've had an opportunity to do some deep diving into it and talking to the Weather Service with it.
That's the thing. We're kind of approaching the peak of hurricane season. We wanted to, tell our viewers one way or another what is the state of the National Weather Service in Tampa Bay. And we won't bury the lead here because this is important information. Tampa Bay, their office feels like they have all the staff necessary and they are hurricane ready, they're storm ready, and they are in good shape, unlike some of the other offices across the country. But we will talk more about that tonight.
Yeah, because technically you probably should have buried the lead because I never get into stuff really fast here. I mean, it's just, first of all, we have our ban button. Hopefully we're not going to need it here.
I don't want to be sensational.
This is a true story. I posted this on Facebook a minute or two ago. So you know Greg D, right? Yeah. You know me, you know Jason. You kind of know the work ethic or lack thereof on some of us because we do things very, very different. And I found this paper here, and I'm going to show this on TV. I just showed it on Facebook a minute ago. So Greg filled in for me last week and did a tremendous job.
Yeah, he did great.
Really, really good. But Greg's style is much more regimented and formatted and
science
and
heavy,
ordered than I am, right? So I'm gonna get up. I'm gonna show people on the camera. I found this. So I found this notepad in the Weather Center, and I want you to look at this because I don't know if you can read. You probably can't. Maybe you can read this. So this is Greg's rundown for DPL, and it says tropics, and then he had a segment called Science-y, but he crossed it out and made Tropics 2 instead. And then he's got the goodbye with all the times. I should pay attention to those because you guys know yesterday I went so heavy. My last segment was like 20 seconds.
That is the definition of type A. That picture could be right next to it.
It's true. So, and I am the antithesis of that.
Yeah.
I'm just not good at that stuff. So I depend on the viewers to give me my countdown on here when it's time for me to go to a break. Now, it's not a hard out, luckily, because if it was, hard out means they'll count us down. We are at a commercial break, boom, right at a certain time.
Yeah.
But with this show, I have power. This button right here, this sets us to commercial break.
That's the more powerful button of the two.
It is, but the thing is, I have to remember to press the button. And I don't do it sometimes. So it gets kind of bad. All right, so anyway, let's do some hellos. We got a lot of folks in here, and we're going to get into what I think is some really great information from Chad, because again, I had so many people asking that same thing. You know, are we losing data? Are we not going to be as safe?
Right. We see headlines sometimes, and you know, the tragedy in Texas really put all of this in the forefront.
Yeah, it did.
And people, rightfully so, started asking questions. Are we prepared? Is the National Weather Service at the level we need it to be across the country and here in Tampa Bay? So,
and so Chad has those answers, and we're going to talk about that. As always, lots of folks in the house. Cheryl, how you doing? Boston's in the house. We've got Sean, as always. Sean is the guy always wanting the 540 line. In other words, he's ready for winter to be here already, which a lot of folks are ready for winter after the heat that we've seen of late. If you're watching on TV, by the way, thank you very much. A lot of times what folks do is they watch on TV, whether it's OTA, over the air, right? Or on cable, and then they follow along on Facebook, because following along on Facebook allows folks to ask questions, and then Chad will answer. So what I encourage y'all to do is we are going to get a quick tropical segment going on coming up in a minute and talk about what's happening. But at the same time, if this entire half hour, if you have questions about what Chad's talking about, which is the accuracy of the forecast, do we have the staffing, whatnot, just pop them up on here and I will do my best to see them. Now, sometimes I'm looking this way and looking this way, and I'm not looking at the camera or at the questions, so you might have to say it 2 or 3 times.
Over there as well.
Okay, cool. And but so at this point, well, here's what I want to do. Let's do a quick look at what's happening locally right now, because we actually do have some thunderstorms out there. And there they are. We're looking at an area that's actually just started to pop up. Wow, it's interesting, because about 5 or 10 minutes ago, this cluster right around downtown Tampa looked pretty. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and watch this. I'm going to go ahead and put the last 30 minutes in motion and watch what happens here. It's going to go from a nice little blow up to nothing. Look at that. So that's how quickly those storms have developed and are winding down. So we're not really looking at a ton of rain, although inland areas, we certainly are very heavy rain from Sebring down to Lake Placid and over to Avon Park. So we're looking at some decent rain in the, and also up in Hernando County, just around Spring Hill and Brook Ridge picking up some rain. So I will do a quick little overview in terms of where we are right now. Upper 80s to lower 90s. Tampa still at 92 degrees at the airport after a high today of 95. Hit 99 in Plant City today. And we're still at 92 at the airport with the feels like of 101 degrees. We didn't break a record, but man, we got close. 96, the previous record today. We hit 95, and that dates all the way back to 1963. Officially, just a couple of raindrops. We had 1/100 of an inch of rain at the airport today. There's a look at radar and satellite. The winds are changing. The last 3 days, we've had an onshore flow. Starting tomorrow, we're back to more of our classic summertime late day pattern. That's an offshore flow. That means the morning will be dry. That means the afternoons early on will be dry. But look what happens around 7 o'clock. The line of storms pops. They get pretty heavy. They get widespread, and they push back toward the coast. And that is some great news, because we're getting kind of crunchy out there. A lot of folks have not seen much rain along the coast lately. I think that starts to change tomorrow, and the pattern continues right on into the weekend. Now, that means maybe a little more cloud cover Saturday into Sunday, so highs go lower 90s as opposed to mid-90s, but check out the tropics. Now, the new numbers actually will be coming out any second. Let me actually look and see if they have come out yet from the Hurricane Center. These don't auto-plot. I have to update them myself. This is the new one, yep, and it's still 030 and it's 3060, so nothing has changed. So the area in orange, getting pretty confident that that is not going to impact the U.S. However, I do think there's an area behind that. It's still over Africa. It's about to leave Africa soon. I think within the next 24 hours, there will be another X there. And that's one that the models are taking a little bit more of an aggressive view on. And tell you what, we will talk more about that, including answering your questions on Dennis Phillips Live. Back for the folks watching on TV in 90 seconds. Okay, so we are still hot on Facebook, and there's our
Okay.
countdown clock. You can actually give me the countdown because my eyes are the
Okay.
one where it says break up top
Oh,
right.
break.
There you
Okay,
go.
yes.
That's
We'll
good.
monitor that for
so
you.
let's do some Q&A. How you guys doing out there? Linda, good to see you. Ruskin. So Linda's saying, or Kathy's. No, Linda's saying that the sun is back out in Ruskin after the rain. Mary, thank you for giving me the. See, Mary is my producer, saying coming up on the commercial break.
Man, look at that.
I actually took the break a little early because I wanted to give Chad a little more time without interrupting on a break. We've got Dom from West Chase. Good to see you. We have Atlanta. The ATL is in the house with. We got folks. We've got Trinidad and Tobago here. Is Jamil,
Yeah.
so watching from down in the Caribbean.
Daytona Beach.
Yeah, we got Daytona's in the house with Janet.
Cool.
So and Fort Myers. Well, boy, these are just and see how fast.
Norman Beach.
See how fast it comes up and goes, and that's the problem. People are like, Dennis, why are you ignoring me? I'm not ignoring. It's just these.
Yeah, you can't keep up.
No,
you know? You
yeah,
can't keep up.
especially when you're trying to look at the camera. How are we doing on time on that?
We have 16 seconds.
Okay, so we're getting closer. So we're going to come back out. Let's go ahead and come back out with. We'll come back out with something that will grab people's attention right off the bat. The Euro AI. Where are we at?
2 seconds.
2, 1. All right, we are back. Dennis Phillips Live Plus, DPL Plus on Wednesday nights. If you're watching on OTA, on the spot, Tampa Bay 66, which will be the home of the Lightning.
That's right.
Now, we've talked baseball.
Yeah, we talk.
Are you a hockey fan, or are you
Yeah. I'm not.
as big of a fan of hockey is baseball your sport, or are you like
mostly baseball?
Yeah.
And I wasn't a big Orlando Magic fan back in the day, but after the Dwight Howard debacle, I still haven't made my way back to watching the Orlando Magic.
And that's kind of the way I was with the Rays, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
You guys know I'm a huge Rays guy, but when they traded away Longo, it broke my heart. It absolutely broke my heart. So what are we looking at here? Yeah, right off the bat, it's kind of an attention-getting device, and I'm showing you this because my point being is this is why ridiculous posting long-range models are. There is the Euro AI, okay? And the Euro AI is bringing a hurricane into Florida on about August 21st. All right, there it is.
Hitting Brevard.
Yeah, I mean, it is look, I'm not going to completely discount it. However, let's be more reasonable here. And let's look at what is the Euro AI's, here it is. So what this is this shows the next 15 days. Let me move this over just a little bit here as I get access. So here's 15 days, okay? So this is the point of this. When you see people who post that one operational run, which was right here, and you're like, oh my heavens, we're gonna get hit by a hurricane, right? You see that.
Nailed.
But if you look at the operational or at the ensemble runs, the reality of it is the Euro AI has this thing anywhere from Mexico to the mid-Atlantic, right? So, and this is a reasonable expectation. I do think something will be developing down in the tropics, and it is going to probably take a route near the Caribbean, near the islands, and eventually curve. Now, will it curve here? And how strong will it be when it curves? Those are all questions of something that we're talking about on a system that is still in Africa, right? So if you see those 12, 13, 14, 15 days runs posted on social as, oh no, look what's coming this way, run. Run as fast as you can because it's just a bunch of nonsense. So
you must see some of that stuff and just get disgusted.
It drives me crazy because, I mean, look, people can do what they want to on their own pages, but when it's spreading fear, which is, look, and this is what I was talking about yesterday. Those operational runs 15 days out will literally be wrong 97% of the time. And that's not an exaggeration. That is the accurate number. Why would you want to post something that's going to be wrong 97% of the time?
Right.
And more importantly, why would you listen to something that's going to be wrong 98% of the time? Now, granted, there's going to be someone out there saying, oh, your weather guys are always wrong 98% of the time. All right, I'll respect that, even if that's not true. But at least I respect that mentality. But for the most part, when people are just following it, and then more than that, they start getting nervous about it.
Yeah.
And after last year, I mean, look, we had a rough year, so everybody's on edge as it is, and you see that, and it's just ridiculous.
Let's do a Letterman top 10. Who are the worst defenders? Let's name names.
Yeah, I can't do that, but I would. Maybe at another time.
Maybe on Facebook.
Not when we're on broadcast. Good point. So anyway, so here's a look at the Euro AI. And again, remember the difference in the Euro AI versus the Euro, and here is the Euro, is the AI uses old, not algorithms, it uses data from 50, 60, 70 years out, throws it on a computer, and compares the current state of the atmosphere to something in the past and tries to come up with a solution. If it happened before, maybe it'll happen again. I think it's a fascinating way to look at it. But here's the actual European model. So it looks similar, but you don't see that area going into Florida like you did with the AI, did you?
Right.
You see a lot of this over Cuba, and then down in toward the Yucatan, and then you also have a decent number of curving away. So look, here's the bottom line. And by the way, here's the GFS. We'll look at this one as well. Remember the GFS had a storm yesterday coming into Florida? Well, look at the latest run. You've got that stuff down there in the tropics. See it down there? Right? See all that down there? So let's see, what does it do with that? Does it bring it in like to Florida like it did yesterday? It does not. It curves it away. So this is my point.
Can I ask you something? It seems like a lot of these early storms curve away. Is there some science behind that?
There is 100% science. As a matter of fact, Chad, since you asked that, ask and ye shall receive, as they say, I'm going to show you a graphic that I like to call up sometimes, and it's one that I think is very telling and important to remember. So let's go ahead and show it to you. So I'm going to call this one up for our TV folks. And so check this out. So here is a look at the month of June, right? There's where the majority of the tracks are in June, all right? Here is July, okay? Still, you know, mostly Gulf and Bahamas and whatnot. Look at August.
Wow.
Now, look at the colors where you see most of the action. They're orange and red. And what do you see in common with those orange and red tracks?
It's like you say, they avoid
stay
land.
offshore.
Yeah.
I mean, that is huge. And that's something I think a lot of people don't realize. Look at September.
Wow.
I mean, exactly, wow. So you see that, and that map right there shows you that the majority, not all, obviously not all, but the majority of the tracks in the last 100 years, 70 plus named storms compared to 10, 20, 30, 40, up to 60, and the other ones, all stay offshore.
Is it the Saharan dust, or is
No, it's actually the positioning of the Bermuda High. It's just the way that the Bermuda High usually sets up, and the Bermuda High drives the storm in a certain direction. And not 9 times out of 10, but I would say 6 times out of 10, you will see that track that will keep them offshore. Now, it's not always, obviously, and you still see the orange ones that is still 50 to 69, and that impacts Florida and the Outer Banks of the Carolinas. But my point is, looking at these in general, overall, when you see a storm out there, it does, and this was the other thing that I talked about. Last year, the GFS spun up 462 named storms. 462 named storms the GFS predicted from June 1st to the end of the year, and we had 17. So what does that tell you? So every time someone posts that GFS that shows a Cat 4 or 5 hitting wherever, and it's 12 days out. Now look, if it's 3 days out or 5 days out or even 7 days out, then you can make the argument. Because it's going to be more accurate. But when it's 12, it isn't. So take that with a grain of salt. So my point is, back to looking at the models. Look, for this particular area in orange that we were showing you earlier, the 30 to 60% likelihood of development, that one, the overwhelming majority of the models curves it out into the open waters.
Someone is yelling break in the comments section.
Oh, Michaela's saying break. See, this is what happens. We get talking and I want to talk weather and I forget the time. So gosh. This is like my producer, Caitlin, who also yells break in my ear. And what do I do? I keep talking. So I'm going to finish the thought. And then I'll thank you for see, this is the difference from Greg.
This is great.
Greg would have already been in a break based on his timing. But for me, no, I push it to the envelope because that's what I do. Let me call that map back up here. Actually, it's over here as well, I think. Maybe it isn't. The NHC map. Well, I'll just go ahead and call it up right now. Let's go ahead and call up the latest NHC. There it is. Oh, yeah, there it is. So there's your map. So the orange area right there, okay? The odds are that it's going to curve harmlessly away. So the next thing we're going to be looking at is what's off of Africa. It'll move offshore in the next day or two, and we will see where it's going to go. The Euro AI takes it closer to the States. Most of the other models curve it away. That's as much as we know. All right? We're going to take a break, and then we're going to spend the rest of our time talking about what Chad found out. Which I've had so many people ask me these questions. What about the data that we were losing? Right. What about the lack of staff? We'll have all that answers for you coming up as DPL continues.
And we should probably knock on wood after, you know.
This is a true story. Yes. So
guaranteeing that this one's going to.
All right. So, no, but we're okay. No, wait a minute. Do we have one more break after this, guys? Yeah, we do. We have one more break, don't we? Oh, man, I am heavy. Holy cow. I always do this. I just start to get talking and right? Do we have one more break? We do. We've only done one break, right?
This is our second break right now.
Yeah, okay. We definitely gonna have to make this. So, all right, we'll get in. Let's talk about what you found from the NWS, and then let's tease it ahead to 11 o'clock.
Yeah, that works.
Right, perfect. All right, then we'll take that one close up. How you doing, guys? You guys doing okay? Thank you for your help. I do appreciate it.
They were Mary being one of them, but there were multiple people. Oh my God.
Break, go to break. And that's exactly what our producer sounds like in my ear. Rap. They're going to grab one of those hooks and just pull me off it one day. Where are we on time?
What's the best is like during hurricane coverage, and you know, like the reporters will be out in the field in the element, and they're like, we're just waiting on Dennis to, sorry.
And that could be
19 seconds.
Okay, and they're waiting in the rain. They're standing in the rain.
But, to be fair, I understand. People need to hear from you more than they need to see the pictures.
Well,
you know.
But the reporters are out there in the rain, and they're waiting for me to finish so they can get out of the rain. They're like, Dennis, shut up. All right, enough already.
3 seconds.
Okay, 3, 2. All right, we are back with Chad Mills, and we're just going to jump right into it because, as always, I'm heavy. I've gone too long. Everybody, thank you on the chat for telling me to go to break. I should listen to you more often. So go ahead and tell us what you found out in terms of, if you don't know, there were the budget cuts, and a lot of the some meteorologists across the entire country were let go because of budget cuts.
Right.
What happened, and what did you find out?
Yeah, there were kind of multiple waves. There was Doge, and there was a lot of layoffs associated with that, some of whom were hired back. But then a lot at the National Weather Service were offered early retirements. Some were laid off who were on probationary period. And you ended up with a number of offices short-staffed. So we wanted to go visit the Tampa Bay office, which is in Ruskin, by the way, and see just what is their staffing level as we approach the peak of hurricane season. And they are in, from everything we heard and saw, they're in great shape. They have 6 positions that they are trying to hire or will be hiring, but you know, most employers have a handful of positions open. So I'm told that's pretty normal. But we visited there, met the acting meteorologist in charge, great guy, great staff. They are still launching 2 weather balloons a day, which some offices had to scale back to just 1 because of staffing. And Dennis, you could probably shed more light. I didn't realize that weather balloons are still so pivotal to all of everything.
How you determine temperature, humidity, I mean, all of the pressure, all of the things that are put into those models.
Yeah. So they have the staff for that. They have the staff to go out and do community outreach, which is so key right now to meet with emergency managers, to be at hurricane expos. So they feel they're in good shape. But another layer to this onion is the White House's budget request for NOAA, which is, you know, the umbrella that's over the National Weather Service. National Weather Service is okay in that budget, but a lot of research would be eliminated. Looks like Congress is going to push back and reinstate funding for a lot of that research. But that we talked to the retired meteorologist in charge of the Tampa Bay office, a guy by the name of Brian Lamar, who I'm
good guy.
Yeah, great guy, who you're familiar with. And that's what he was telling me. Short term, this hurricane season, we are great. Long term, nationally, he has some concerns if research is cut. And you would know better than I. Has research, have you seen meteorology improve over the years because of research?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the accuracy of, even though there would be people who will argue this point, because that's just what you do with weather people, the accuracy, especially of the tropical forecasts, has increased so dramatically. especially from the 24-hour to the 72-hour period. It's been night and day, and you're right. We hope that doesn't suffer because of this. Now, I want to let people know. So, broadcast, we're on until 7:58. I do have another break I have to hit, but we're going to continue on Facebook. So, whatever questions you have, come on over to Facebook, and I'm just going to be monitoring here as they give Chad all the questions. But before we go to break real quick, so also we want to mention the data. You know, the one thing that was another big one, that the microwave data that a lot of folks were freaking out about that we were going to lose, that too has been resolved.
Right. The Department of Defense weeks ago said that it was phasing out that data by the end of June and then the end of July. Well, they've now decided that they're going to continue that stream of data. And you can, again, explain better. What is the, I guess, importance of that data, that satellite data?
The microwave data is really helpful in determining the structure of the storm, when it's developing. I mean, you're looking at the core of the storm, so you can see the specifics of what it's doing as it's intensifying or weakening. Is it a closed low? All of those things. Satellite data is useful at some times, as is Hurricane Hunter data. But sometimes you need that microwave data to look into the guts of the storm, if you will, when you don't continuously have planes flying through, because you don't. You don't have planes flying through all the time.
Just kind of another tool in the toolbox.
And it's one that we need, that we will now have, and then they're replacing satellites with newer satellites as well, so that too will be part of the process. Got to hit a break. We'll be back for our last segment coming up in 90 seconds. Okay. All right. So, yeah, and these are all questions that are Carol wants to know just how important is the Navy data for our tropical forecasting, which again is what we were talking about. I mean, it really is. It's just one piece of the puzzle, though.
Sure.
And I think the way it was being spun.
That's what I was going to ask. Is it the end all be all? We heard some.
No, it is not. I mean, there are so many things that I would say Hurricane Hunter, satellite data, microwave data, they're all pieces of the puzzle, and they're probably all as equally important.
Sure.
Now, again, the problem with the Hurricane Hunters is you just don't have the means to, especially when it's out in the middle of the ocean, to be flying in. You don't have access to those storms until they get close enough to the islands where you can actually have a plane that'll fly in. So these storms and these satellites, rather, are really helpful when you don't have access. Look, when these storms get closer to the coast, you're constantly flying in with Hurricane Hunter information. But when you're not, or if it's over Cuba and we can't send a plane over, you know, then this data can actually help.
Well,
how far, where are we on the time?
We are, sorry, my laptop, we have 19 seconds, 19 seconds.
All right, so we're coming back on the last segment, the last 2 minutes. It flies, doesn't it?
It does, man.
It's
crazy.
It flies. All right, and like I said, guys, we'll be answering more questions after the...
2 seconds.
Okay, finishing up on this segment of Dennis Phillips Live, watching, if you're again watching on OTA, the spot, Tampa Bay, 66, or on Frontier on 23, or Spectrum on 17, you can tune over to Facebook. Chad's going to stick around for a few more minutes, and we're going to continue to answer questions. But the bottom line is, for folks who are watching on TV now, yes, there was a lot of negativity and a lot of fear out there, with good reason in some cases, but I get the sense that at least right now for Florida, the confidence level is pretty high that the forecasting is going to be able to be done this hurricane season in the way that we need it to be done.
Rule number 7.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, and interesting, you even said that they're looking to hire 6 more spots, but that's not unusual in that office.
They said that that's just kind of normal. People move on, they retire, they take other positions elsewhere, and that's about the standard number of openings that they have, give or take 1 or 2. And
tonight at 11 o'clock.
Yes, on Tampa Bay tonight we'll have our full piece with the National Weather Service, our tour of the office. Kind of a cool facility, and a lot of people don't realize it's right there in Ruskin, and hardworking men and women there round the clock, making sure we're safe. They're heroes. They really are.
Absolutely. And again, if you're watching on broadcast, you can flip over to Facebook and Instagram, and I'm looking at your questions and comments right here. So I'll have everything you need. So again, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. We'll continue on Facebook, and we'll be back tomorrow night on our next edition of Dennis Phillips Live. Okay, so we are out on TV and streaming.
Will AI replace many meteorologists?
Yeah.
There's a good one.
You know, it is a good question.
I don't.
So here's my take on that. And, you know, we have AI models now, but I talked about this a couple days ago. So I had a professor at Penn State. His name was Carl Chelius. And the guy knew as much about the science as he said, look, I know everything about the science, but his exact words are, I can't forecast my way out of a paper bag. Because he was talking about himself, because he said meteorology was 50% science, 50% art. And
Wow.
I don't believe that art is something that you'll ever be able to teach AI.
Yeah.
I may be wrong. Maybe it's wishful thinking.
Yeah.
I don't know. But that's kind of the way that I look at it. I mean, when we're talking AI, I remember AccuWeather had AI weather people, you know, giving the forecast.
Sure.
And nowadays, I mean, come on, you know that's
Right.
possible.
Right.
But are they going to be? I would argue, look, part of my job is now maybe much of my job is no longer just getting the weather right, because people can say, hey, Siri, what's the weather going to be?
Sure.
You know, I think you need the human side of it to recognize what people are feeling, you know, the empathy that goes along with that when a storm's coming. It isn't, and you know that as a reporter.
Sure.
I mean, that's what you do.
Yeah.
I mean, you're sharing people's stories, and look, if I'm watching a report, and I've had this happen, and I think I will be honest, a lot of times it's with younger, more inexperienced reporters. You'll watch some of these reporters who haven't been doing it very long, and you watch their presentation, and they're lacking empathy. And it's not because they're not good people, it's because they're either nervous
Yeah.
or they haven't put themselves in that mode. Wendy and I used to talk about this a lot. Reporters who do stories about kids, it's very difficult for anybody, we all know this, it's very difficult for people to empathize with what it's like for a parent to lose a child or an issue with a child until you're a parent.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, you have kids.
Yeah.
And prior to having kids,
Oh, I didn't. I mean, I did those stories, but it really. You're absolutely right. It just hits a different way. I have a 3-year-old daughter, and
It
it's
hits
changed
different.
my whole perspective on life.
100%.
You know?
And so I think that's something I don't believe AI will ever be able to encompass. That's just me personally. I don't think. All right. So what else? Let me see what else we got. Yeah, Debbie and Dorothy seem to agree. Appreciate it. So, but Marianne, I will tell you, it's a funny story. So my daughter, Ryan, I heard her a couple of weeks ago, I guess it was, and it's 9 in the morning, and I hear her say, hey, Siri, is it going to rain today?
Betrayal.
I'm like, Ryan, if I had a ban button right now, you're gone. I mean, betrayal, exactly right. So,
No Christmas.
You know, hey, so anyway, I truly believe that part of the job is, whether you're a reporter or an anchor or whatever the case may be, I think, and see, there are some media companies that disagree with me, but when people are watching TV at home, I really, truly believe they watch or don't watch because they either like that person or they don't like that person.
Trust is a big thing.
Yeah.
You have to have trust. And if you don't have it, I mean, you put some of that stuff, I search things on Google sometimes, it gives you that AI description that no one asked for. And I mean, it's helpful sometimes, but I'll look at some of that stuff sometimes and just flat wrong.
Yeah.
I mean.
And what was it? I saw a story earlier today I was reading somewhere. There was an AI something, and I don't know if it was a movie or lines in a movie, but the comments on that were, people were really up in arms. Why would they want an AI version of something when they can have the original?
Yeah.
Or have, and I think in general, the human side of what we do, I think people want that and require that. Mm-hmm. And I know there are some, broadcast outlets out there that, I get it, it's cheaper.
Sure.
It's cheaper to not have people do it. But I would argue that at the end of the day, people are going to watch and trust someone that they can, that they've either grown up with or that they relate to or that they like, or they'll change the channel if they don't like them. I truly believe that. Maybe I'm deluding myself.
About National Weather Service. Mm-hmm. the way it was described to me was kind of the bedrock of all meteorology. How do you depend on the NWS day in and day out?
Absolutely, I do. So I don't. That's an interesting question. All right, I don't use the NWS forecast, and I'll tell you why. Because I think it's human nature. If you look at someone else's opinion or perspective on something, that might cause you to change yours toward them. Like you'll think to yourself, why are they doing this and I'm doing something very different?
Right.
So what I will do is I will put my forecast together, I will do it, and then after it's all done, then I will sometimes go back, especially, look, in Florida, late day storms, highs in the low 90s. There's not a lot of challenge, right? But I will, after the fact, go back and I'll see what they have, and I'll read what they write. There's a thing called an AFD, an area forecast discussion, and I'll read what they say, because if I missed something, maybe I can go back and say, well, you know what, maybe I agree with that. But I would rather do it after the fact, because if I do it before, I would probably find myself trying to find a way to get closer to their forecast, and I don't want to do that.
Confirmation bias.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So the answer to your question is I don't look at their forecast very often until after the fact, and then sometimes I will. Hurricane season, I think it's a group effort. I mean,
that's where we get the alerts from, right? The National Weather Service sends down the...
Well, that's an interesting point, too, because back in the day, and this is where I think the NWS and NOAA and the NHC has really improved their communication. So back in the day, 20 years ago, you would talk to the local weather service office. They would not stray word for word from what the NHC was saying. When the NHC puts out a forecast, the NWS would literally parrot what they were saying, because they were required to parrot what the NHC says. Now, there's so much more open communication. And look, the forecasters at the Weather Service are great forecasters. Now, are they are any of us at the level of the NHC? I mean, the NHC is the top of the top. I mean, they are the best of the best in terms of forecasting. But us other people, we still have our training and experience, and I would argue I'm every bit as qualified to give a forecast for this area as people in the NHC. Like maybe they're going to do better in areas where they, might know more, but I know this area.
Right.
So anyway, point being, the Weather Service now, they'll tell you what they think. They don't just be like, well, this is, and they might even say, well, look, this is what the Weather Service or Hurricane Center is saying, but we kind of think this. And they have a back and forth with the NHC.
Right.
So when warnings are issued, the local office is very much involved in how those warnings are issued for our area. It used to just be the NHC did what they did, and they didn't care what anybody else did. Now that communication really does exist, and I think it's helpful, because the NHC is relying on people who know this area. Yeah. There's Mets that have worked in Ruskin for 20, 30 years, like me. So they're going to know the little subtleties of this area, as opposed to, if they're talking Dade and Broward, maybe folks down there might know that better. Yeah. So I find that fascinating. Yeah. Let's see, what else do we have? Let's see, any other questions for Chad? Again, this is a story that you will be showing, and it will be at the top of the 11?
I believe so. I'm not 100%, but it'll be toward the top. Yeah.
And Amber, hi from Michigan. How you doing? Good to see you. Yeah, a lot of folks talking about the AI. A lot of folks talking about the AI. So, well, is there anything that you didn't cover that you wanted to cover? Or do you want just people to tune in tonight at 11?
I think, I think we covered it. I think the bottom line is just short term, we seem to be okay. Here in Tampa Bay, the National Weather Service is ready to go this hurricane season, but there are questions about NOAA budget and research and things like that down the road. And of course, they have ended the hiring freeze for National Weather Service, so they can start hiring, but that will take some time. So, be important to check in and make sure those positions are being hired.
So Jesus is saying, I feel that any weather warning or watch is taking longer to receive than before. I live in Central Florida. 6 p.m. it was a monsoon, lost power, didn't get a warning. Okay, that's a good point, and let me explain why that is. Severe thunderstorm warnings have nothing to do with how heavily it's raining or how much lightning is occurring. And I personally think that is a massive mistake, and I hate it. That's, by definition, A severe thunderstorm warning means 60-mile-an-hour winds and 1-inch hail. That's what that means. It has nothing to do with how heavily it's raining. It has nothing to do with how much lightning there is. I would argue more people are concerned and feel threatened from the amount of lightning that happens than if you have 60-mile-an-hour winds or 1-inch hail.
And if you get one little cell on top of you and that's your view for 20 minutes, you're like, oh my gosh, this is the worst storm I've seen all year.
Exactly, you know? And you're not going to get a warning on it.
Right.
Because they didn't have 60-mile-an-hour winds. So the Weather Service, they're stuck. If it doesn't have 60-mile-an-hour winds, you're not going to get a severe thunderstorm warning. You might get a special weather statement, but those aren't broadcast normally. So yeah, it's a great point. And I've said this for a decade now. I think there should be a warning for excessive lightning. Because to me, that is every bit as dangerous. In Florida, I would argue,
the capital,
yes,
you know? I mean,
I would argue more people have been injured from lightning than from hail in Florida. You know, maybe in other parts of the country, maybe that's not the truth, but in Florida, I think it is. So that's why you don't get.
I didn't know that. That was a good question.
Yeah, and it's fascinating that, and I'm sure the Weather Service would love to issue more in terms because they have the data.
They would just have to issue them all day long. Probably.
Well, this is true.
Yeah,
that's a good point too. So. Thank you, Corinne. Appreciate it. She says, thank you, Dennis and Chad.
Yeah.
Yeah, technically, Hagen, you're right. It's 58 miles an hour, but I rounded up to 60.
Come on,
I mean,
Dennis.
I get it. I know, but you know, I round stuff up. All right, I think that is about it. Kelly wants to know what the weather will be like on August 13th for her daughter's birthday. What is today? That is in 7 days from now. All right, 7 days from now, we are going to be an east-southeast flow. So you are going to see sunshine in the morning. You'll see sunshine in the afternoon. You will see storms arriving after 5 or 5:30, moving from east to west for your daughter's birthday.
Now, how about August 16th for my daughter's birthday in Lakeland?
Ooh, that's 10 days out. Cannot make it that far. I'm kind of pushing it to go a week out, but that is kind of where I am. Are you gonna have an outdoor party?
It's gonna be indoors, so
no,
yeah.
That's a smart call.
That's the unfortunate thing about August, having an August baby is no outdoor birthday parties.
Yeah, this is a true story. Mary Ann said that apparently lightning hit Cinderella's castle today.
Oh, wow.
Did you hear that?
I haven't heard that, but
that sounds like something that would make the news.
Matt Belden, you know, we need to call our resident Disney expert.
Yeah, our producer, who apparently claims that he is my favorite producer. And he said that now for years and years. And the reality is he's my least favorite producer. But he, for some reason, thinks that he is the favorite producer. Matt, I know he's not watching anyway. It's a moot point.
Tag Matt.
So I guess that's it. Palm Coast, how you doing, Patrick? Good to see you. So anyway, so Chad will be back tonight at 11 and give an update on what we just learned. But I think the moral of the story is, based on what you saw, we're ready for hurricane season.
How do you feel?
I feel we're ready.
Yeah.
I always felt we're ready. Look, I realize there's a lot of political stuff that goes on, and there always is, and that's just the world we live in. But I have been saying for 6 months, I did not believe at one single time that we would ever get to a point that we would not have data coming in and us to be able to do our job to keep people safe when a hurricane comes.
Right.
I don't believe it would ever come to that.
And it's probably not a good time to get into this, but even the Texas incident was questioned at first, and as it turns out, it looks like a lot of meteorologists there say, no, NWS was issuing the warnings and alerts.
They absolutely did.
It's just maybe the communication piece was a little lacking.
And it also hit in the middle of the night, so it's really difficult for, those kind of warnings happen a lot, but unfortunately, maybe only 1 out of 50 or 1 out of 100 will actually, even more than that maybe, will happen to the extent of what happened. Right. And it's human nature. If you get a flash flood warning, more often than not, it's the same with Florida. You get hurricane advisories, people on the coast most of the time never evacuated. Mm-hmm. It's not going to hit us. It's going to miss us. It always misses us. Indian burial grounds, all that stuff, right? And then last year, we got it. So I'm going to be curious when it happens again, because it will. Not necessarily this year, but it's going to happen again. Will people react differently now?
I think they already did with Milton after Helene, especially. I remember before Milton, I went up to the rest area in Pasco County on 75, and talked to a lot of people you wouldn't normally expect to evacuate who were saying, after Helene, all bets are off. We're getting out of here. So.
Well, and what's crazy about that one, too, we've talked about this a million times, that storm was over 100 miles offshore.
Yeah, right. So if Helene can affect us to the rate it did, I mean.
Yeah, imagine what if Helene, well, I'll tell you, if Helene had made landfall in our area, we would have had a 12 to 14 foot surge. It would have been double what it was.
Yeah.
So you can't say we were lucky, we were fortunate. We weren't. It was devastating, but it could have been even worse than it was. And so now we have a benchmark. You know, now we kind of know, all right, this is a 6 or a 7 foot surge. This is what'll happen. If you live in an area that was impacted or devastated by Helene, you now know what a 6 or 7 foot surge is if you decided to rebuild, if you decided to raise, you know, and start over in some cases. And I think at the very least, that's going to be something that will be helpful to people when they're deciding what they're going to do the next time.
Right. It's just so great now. I mean, if there's a silver lining to it all, people are so engaged. I mean, look at all the people joining us tonight. They are on top of their games now.
Yep.
You know?
Well, and Anita says Helene was the game changer.
Yeah.
And I believe it was too.
I agree.
You know, prior to Helene, the no-name storm back in the 90s was what a lot of people always considered was the surge. And it was a winter storm. Well, technically March, so I guess early spring. But it was a storm that went across the Gulf and brought a 8-foot surge. And now that one, there was hardly any notice at all. We had 3-4 days notice with Helene. The problem was people didn't believe it.
No one did.
No.
I mean, it's just, who would expect 15 to 20 foot surge in some places, you know?
Well, and where it made landfall, and for our area still, you know, I think the biggest thing was people would never expect a surge again from a storm that was over 100 miles offshore. That's the thing.
I'll never forget, I was in a little town called Gina, which is near Steenhatchee, across the river from Steenhatchee. And the water was so high there that a cabin was lifted off the ground, and when the water receded, it was lowered and a flagpole impaled it.
Oh, wow.
It's crazy.
Wow.
Crazy.
And that was where Helene made landfall.
Where Helene made landfall.
Yeah. So, I mean, I do think we, and by the way, who just mentioned this? Bridget mentioned that Debbie was destructive.
Yeah, for Sarasota.
We don't talk about Debbie a lot because, you know, Milton and Helene hit boom, boom, and they had a larger impact on a larger scale. But yeah, I mean, Debbie brought a ton of flooding as well.
And I think Sarasota's issue, some of that seems to be infrastructure based more so than power of nature. But still, yeah, Debbie I gets left out.
Well, and there's a lot of people that think that Tampa is infrastructure related as well. I mean, you know, I mean, you hear that a lot
Well,
in
with Milton,
afternoon
especially in
thunderstorms.
those areas like Pasco County and Zephyr Hills and out in South Hillsborough County, there were I mean, you know, it's just a lot of rain all at once.
Well, and
Makes
that's
any
the difference
infrastructure fail.
because Helene was surge.
Right,
Milton was rain.
right.
And the flooding, you know, very different, obviously. Surge is Gulf water, bay water, pushed in. And then freshwater flooding is just too much rain. Matter of fact, I was at Tampa International Airport today, and they were giving me a tour, which was really cool. Actually, it was really, really neat. But Terry, how you doing? Good to see you. Terry's. I've seen all your chickens on here. Terry said her chicken coop got flooded. Asham, how you doing? I haven't seen you in forever. So they have an area that goes under the runway, and it's 14 feet clearance, and it completely flooded out.
Wow.
With Milton, and they had to pump the water out. So I had not heard about that, but yeah, I mean, well, I'm watching a documentary, just watched it last night on Katrina, and it's
20 years this year. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I think it's a great watch. It's on I think it's on Hulu. Yeah, it's on Disney Plus. On Disney Plus, which is Hulu, I guess, same thing. And I watched it yesterday, and for folks who were younger, who didn't experience Katrina, I don't think they realize how many people were literally standing on the top of their roofs for days to be rescued. And I know a lot of people who had seen that for the first time. My son lives in New Orleans, and he had not seen the documentary. But believe it or not, him and I were in Williamsport, Pennsylvania when Katrina hit for the Little League World Series.
Oh, cool.
Because Katrina hit Florida first. People forget that.
Right.
It went across South Florida, went into the Gulf,
That's right.
and then just blew up. And then
Actually, I'm from Fort Walton Beach, and we actually got out of school for Katrina. Of course, we hardly even got rain that far out, but yeah.
And then once it went to the Gulf, it just went crazy.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you, Andrea. Appreciate it. Cindy in Venice, how you doing? Appreciate it. Yeah, Christy, I've just watched it. It was a brutal documentary.
Is it a multi-part documentary? Or
Yes,
is
it's 5 parts.
Okay.
Yeah, it's each one are like 30 to 40 minutes. Yeah,
Yeah.
I literally just watched that. Steve wants to know, am I throwing out the first pitch? September 3rd, my daughter, Ryan, is singing the national anthem. They got rained out before. I think it's September 3rd. Let me look at the date.
Saturday?
Yes. No, it's a Wednesday. Yeah, September 3rd, my daughter is singing the national anthem. I don't know if I'm throwing out the first pitch or not. I might be. I'm not sure. But if you're going, you'd be going to watch Ryan sing the national anthem anyway. So that is Wednesday the 3rd. So I guess that's about it. I know you got to get home. No, you're up for the 11, actually. Are you live?
I started earlier today. So
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for coming.
Magic of TV, it's going to be a look live tonight, but they
Well,
don't have to know that, right?
Okay,
we'll
true.
keep that secret.
And I will be there live. I will be there as well as Wendy will. So the name of the documentary is, well, it's Katrina.
You want me to look it up?
It says Katrina the something. Katrina. Yeah, she is singing. She was supposed to sing before, but the national anthem got rained out. Everything got rained out. It was. It's called
Race Against Time?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Race Against Time. Hurricane Katrina.
Okay. Yeah. I'll
Yeah.
start that.
It's a really good documentary. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you very much for coming, Chad. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, guys. Really enjoyed the questions and all the nice words reading on Facebook. So yeah, it's awesome.
And we'll be back tomorrow night with our next edition. And by the way, take it back. Let's just do one quick look at radar, just since do one look at radar before we say goodbye, so we can finish up with weather. And again, if you're just tuning in, the tropics. I will show you that as well real quick. This is radar. There it is. Things have wound down, actually. That's looking pretty good. But looking at the area in yellow, moving even farther away now. So look at that. So not even expected to impact the Carolinas. That yellow lemon has moved a little bit to the east. Orange area looks to be pretty good. It is going to stay south of the U.S., or rather south and east of the U.S., but we are looking at what's coming off of Africa right now, because that's the one that I think the NHC will probably end up putting an area on coming up in the near future, probably in the next 24 hours. So that is it. I appreciate it. You guys have a great night, and we will see you on tomorrow night's edition of Dennis Phillips Live. See ya.